and welcome to TOG Talks, our live Facebook question and answer session. Today we're going to be answering questions on male mental health and suicide specifically. Before I get into the plan for today's session, I just need to say that if you are experiencing any form of emotional distress during our broadcast, we've got numbers available behind me. Samaritans is a 24/7 contact line, and they are trained to deal with any form of distress. We've also got CALM, which is Campaign Against Living Miserably, which is angled specifically towards men. That's on 0800 58 58 58. Call those numbers at any time. They are the perfect people. If you want to access our services, you can call us within office hours on 0161 330 9223. And our team are always happy to help you with those service-related questions. The plan for today is Jenny here is going to help us with a little bit of a mindfulness session. It's only about 4 minutes, but you're going to be able to get involved whether you're on the bus, whether you're at home, whether you're at work, even though you shouldn't be watching Facebook. And that's hopefully going to ground us a little bit, but also give us the opportunity to sort of think about some of the questions we might want to ask of the team. So Jenny, I'm going to hand over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ella. Yes, we're just going to do a short mindfulness practice called feet on floor, bum on chair. So that's just a quick opportunity for us just to ground ourselves before the discussion starts, and Ella, I think, is going to join in as well.
Join in on it.
Yeah, so feel free to close your eyes. I'm not going to close my eyes because I might fall asleep. That wouldn't be good. So I think Ella's going to. So we're just going to start off by bringing our attention to our feet. So just checking in to how our feet feel, just noticing perhaps any contact with the floor, your feet in your shoes, just noticing any sensations that are around there for you at the moment. So just bringing your attention there and just seeing what sensations, if anything, you can feel. And again, if you don't feel anything, that's fine as well. There's no right or wrong with mindfulness, it's just about noticing really. So if you can't feel anything, you can always press your feet a bit more into the floor and just increase sensation if you want to do that. Fine as well. So moving from your feet just up into your lower legs, and again just pausing here and noticing any sensations. Might be contact you're feeling with your clothes, your trousers or whatever. Maybe just noticing the temperature of your skin. It's quite a hot sweaty day, so you might notice something there. So just seeing what's around for you there, and then moving from your lower leg up sort of around to your knees and your upper thighs. And again, just noticing really any sensations that are around for you. You might notice perhaps like a prickling, it might be literally anything, the contact with your clothes again, the temperature, whatever's there really for you. And if you're joining in now, sort of halfway through, that's fine as well, just join at this point. You can pick it up any time, that's fine. And then just moving up, just to notice perhaps where your body's making contact with the chair, or whatever you're leaning on, sitting on, wherever you are. So noticing those contact points, and just seeing again how that feels and what you're noticing. And then just bringing sort of a more general awareness to the body, so just seeing how your body feels generally, so noticing kind of any sensations that you're feeling anywhere in the body. And again, that might vary quite a lot, but just seeing what's there. Like I said again, it could be temperature, contact, whatever's there really for you. And then just starting to bring your awareness back into wherever you are, and just paying attention to the sounds in the room, kind of what's going on for you now, and then just sort of bringing that to a close. So hopefully that's grounded people ready for the discussion ahead. So thank you.
That was so wonderful, thank you Jenny. I'll tell you what I'm noticing how nervous I am. Jenny's got to rush off and see clients, so we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Joining me for our discussion session, we have two members of our team. We have Caleb, who is on our community development team. Welcome, Caleb. And we've got Demetrius, who works in our talking therapies team.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, actually, more to the point. We are going to be discussing, as I've mentioned, male mental health. We've chosen this as a topic of discussion because we now know that male suicide is the biggest killer of men under 45, and that the kind of causes of that are all sorts of changing aspects in globalised world, things like economics, technology, feminism, homelessness, alcohol abuse. All these kind of things are issues that we haven't really experienced previously. And sort of as a consequence of us not having those conversations, we know that male suicide is at a 15-year high. And actually this year, 4,500 men lost their life from completing suicide, which is, I think it's 3 times the number of people who died in road accidents. So obviously this is something we need to start discussing, hence why we're here having these conversations. So before questions start coming in from our live audience, I've got a team ready for that. We've got some randomised questions. Are you all right for me to spin my wheel of fortune? I know you're all really jealous of me. So our first question is as follows. It's very exciting. It's like a game show. What are the usual impacts for men who have accessed our services or mental health services generally?
Is it okay if I...
Go for it.
I think, because we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier before the broadcast. Generally, I think what's very common in men that experience thoughts about, you know, ending their life or harming themselves in some way could be brought on by isolation. You touch on some real-life social circumstances that could feed into that as well. Yeah. And I think the impact generally from the feedback I've been getting from our clients, our male clients specifically, is around having a space with us, with the service that we provide, or, you know, I'm sure that other services are provided in the community as well, where they can feel safe to discuss issues. They can feel obviously less isolated because they are in a relationship with other people, either one, if it's a one-to-one, or a group of people. They can feel that they're not judged, they're not criticized, they're accepted for what is going through their minds or even, you know, emotionally, and which may not be the case sometimes in the community, depending on who they're with or what are the family circumstances, if there is one, or if there is. So I don't know if that sounds...
Yeah, I think what society, we did a TOG Talking event as part of our community resilience, and part of one of them talks was around male mental health, and we looked into how men experience our counselling service. Yeah. And this conception that men are a hard to reach group, which they are, but they don't access services effectively. But when we actually looked into it from our side, men engaged better. Once they're involved in the service, they engaged more than female counterparts.
Oh, really?
And their recovery was better.
Oh.
So from our perspective as an organisation, when men access the services, they tend to come out better, which is a positive
So they're
outcome.
kind of getting more out of the services than women are?
With regards to the counselling service,
Yeah.
what we've got evidence for.
Wow.
So if a man does feel like he needs to access a service, chances are if he engages in the right service for him, he will find a benefit.
Wonderful. Fabulous. We'll go on.
We're done, yeah.
No, we're not done. We're never done.
I thought you were going on to the next question. I was just going to say that there is a consensus sometimes underlying in society that men need to be strong, or, you know, like with expressions that we talked about, like man up and things like that. So coming to a counselling service could be quite the contrary of that. They don't need to be that. They will be accepted for who they are. Yeah. So that could be, you know, why they experience service like that positively.
Wonderful. Oh, we've already got a question come in. I didn't see the mystery hand. So somebody online, Claire in fact, has said, I have 2 young boys. What support is available for young males who may be struggling? Wonderful question, Claire.
I wonder if that's...
Yeah.
So our service covers Tameside, Oldham and Glossop. So in Tameside we have the Hive, which is every Wednesday 4 to 8, which has a variety of services, not just talking therapies, but they can access the cafe. There's Off the Record in Tameside, which is 10 to 25-year-olds. Anthony Seddon Fund do some young people services. And in Oldham we deliver a counselling service in the evenings at Madlow. We have a drop-in every Thursday. So there's loads out there for young people to access, but also talking to them about their mental health is going to be some real benefits. So ask them how they are, if they are upset, encouraging them to be upset. They don't have to pack up them feelings, be a big boy, boys don't cry, them type of terms.
Wonderful. So having those conversations might be just as valuable in the home environment as they would be in a service environment?
100%.
Okay.
Because again, there seems to be something out there about not allowing sometimes children to feel certain things like bereavement and keeping things away from their experience, which can actually make things worse. Yeah. So maybe it's worth for parents to find out a bit more about how they can deal with a situation like that, or a traumatic event like the Manchester bombing attack was, for example.
Yeah.
How they can talk about things and not bottle things up.
Yeah.
So sort of valuing their emotions and the experience that they're having, rather than saying.
Trying to protect them, because I think that it comes from the intention of trying to protect children sometimes when we're not telling them about certain feelings, certain bad things that happen in the family or generally, whereas it could actually lead to the opposite sometimes, the opposite impact sometimes, without parents knowing that, of course, I suppose.
And there's loads of books out there.
Oh, right, okay.
Parents to access around how to communicate around emotions, how to have them type of conversations. There's lots of podcasts that agencies are starting to deliver so that they can share that experience that other parents have kind of gone through.
So like valuing community kind of thing?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Fabulous. I'm going to spin the wheel again before we get any more questions from our live viewing audience. What have we got? Oh. What support, you've kind of touched on this for young people, but what support is available in Tameside, Oldham and Glossop for men experiencing mental health issues?
I mean, at the moment, like Caleb said, there's Tameside, there's Oldham and there's Glossop areas that we cover. So we have a counselling service now that covers Tameside and Glossop. We recently opened a new office at Glossop as well, where we can see people from Glossop due to proximity, obviously. We do have a project called Together that's specifically for suicide prevention, offering mainly men, also women, but mainly men. It's targeted for the male audience, offering the opportunity to become part of the group, have a therapeutic course, receive some counselling. If they have some real life issues, which sometimes are the cause of feelings like that, like unstable employment, unstable housing, debt issues, or some kind of a history with their mental health, they could potentially become part of a project where they can volunteer if they want to gain some work and experience, maybe some courses about upskilling themselves. But at the same time, there are also organizations out there that offer support to people depending on the circumstances. I think you mentioned off the record for young people as well. It could be very
Healthy Minds.
Healthy Minds, yes. Sorry, Healthy Minds is the NHS service that I think that generally deal with anxiety and depression in broader terms. So somebody can refer there as well. And obviously, if somebody is unsure, we also signpost because we have some drop-ins in-house and a few in the community, where depending on what the issues are, we can always give that advice to somebody that even if they come to us, we can signpost them to a different service.
So even if we're not the right people, we can direct people to the relevant support.
Which could be the case.
You've touched on Tameside and Glossop. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what's available in Oldham.
So in Oldham, we have services as part of our active monitoring team. So we have a partnership with the NHS. So it's called Active Monitoring, which has drop-ins and a guided self-help service that cover mental health conditions, so low mood, anxiety, confidence, anger. There's some therapeutic groups which Demetrius touched on, which we deliver as well. And there's a signpost element to that as well. So if we're not the right person to work with, there's other partnerships like Early Help that we connect with.
And so my question would be, as a kind of follow-up to that, I know you've mentioned counselling a few times, but I know particularly for men it's not the most appealing necessarily session. Do we have sessions available that are not kind of counselling based?
Actually, I forgot to mention the allotments as well, because you're right, you're absolutely right. Sometimes people don't necessarily want to talk about what they're going through, or they just they're isolated, they're socially excluded, they need to get out there a little bit more, learn some skills, get involved in some activities. And the allotments, even though it's a kitchen garden, it doesn't necessarily, they don't need to have those skills. They don't even have to get involved in that way, but there's a multitude of activities that can engage with. They could be creative, they could be arts and crafts, they could be anything, and obviously there could be also the gardening as well. And there they can also have the opportunity to speak to other people and ask for advice if that's what they want. Generally be out there. We have a shed as well for men. They can do like woodwork and things like that. So
you've got kind of advice and support in an environment that's not the same as particularly like a set one-to-one situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because somebody may feel that they're not ready, or they don't want to maybe engage in that kind of therapeutic approach, which is absolutely understandable. People may just need to do some other things, become more sociable maybe, or become more involved in the communities to feel that they're making a difference. It doesn't necessarily have to be something where they talk about what they're feeling if that's not what they want to do. So,
wonderful. Oh, I have another question. I'm loving the fishbowl. Live question from Sarah. What services in Tameside are available for the families of those affected by suicide? Do we have that information?
I'm not sure about Tameside specifically about this. I know there is a bereaved by suicide. Is that what the question was?
Yes.
Bereaved by suicide.
Yeah.
There is there is something online. There's an organization. I'm not sure about the details. But I don't think there's something specific to this locality.
Yeah.
But then we, for example, would support somebody who experiences bereavement.
Yeah.
We have trained volunteers, trained counsellors to support in that as well. So there could be something more national, but I'm not sure about the actual...
I think the difficulty with the question is it says family. So it implies like a group activity. If it's an individual aspect, so Together, for example, is a project aimed at people at risk of suicide. So if you're bereaved by suicide, or suffer a bereavement by suicide, you are more at risk of then of committing suicide yourself.
Okay.
So which would make you an ideal person that would benefit from Together. But counselling, our guided self-help in Oldham may be sufficient if that's dropping it's decided actually know what that would really suit you.
So what I'm hearing is that even if you don't feel like you're personally affected by mental health issues, but you someone in your family or a loved one has completed suicide, then you're more than welcome to access our mental health services because you're more at risk?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
And also, somebody doesn't need to define themselves as somebody who suffers from mental health issues in that way. It could be any sense of emotional issues, emotional well-being. We're trying to move away from those labels, I think, sometimes. So anybody that feels that they need some more information around that, it would be good to call because we may have something to offer ourselves, or we may have somewhere to signpost.
And people like Samaritans are really great at sometimes just having an offloading conversation. Silver line for older people. So there's lots out there that we can signpost you to if you felt that was.
We're like the hub that gives you all the information you need.
Hub's a very good word.
Hub's a great word. Right, let's find ourselves another question. I'm really hoping it doesn't land on an empty. There we go. That'd be really awkward, wouldn't it? Okay, what have we got? We've sort of touched on this earlier. We've said the phrase "man up" has been used to devalue men's emotions. How do we avoid using phrases like this in our everyday lives?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Man up is one of those phrases that some men don't find offensive. I think we need to be fair that some men appreciate that word. Other men, it has an impact without them realising it, and especially on young people, that there's an ideal version of what a man is, and that's such a subjective term. Yeah. So to give a short answer, because I can see your magic hands writing loads of questions, is that just being mindful of actually what impact that word might have. So when you're saying man up, are you expecting someone to live up to an expectation that they can't achieve? If someone's sad, they're entitled to be sad. They don't need to pack that feeling away and act a certain way because of their gender.
Okay. So valuing what people's emotions?
Yeah, no matter what the gender is. Yeah. If someone falls over and they cry, it shouldn't matter if they're a boy or a girl. Yeah.
That's a valid feeling.
Yes.
Perfect. You said something about magic hands. Are there magic hands you can pass me questions? Oh my goodness, there's loads. There's loads. I'm looking at the time now. Joanne, do you have any services for older men with confidence issues?
We do, in fact, in Tameside. Again, it isn't specific in that way, but they can obviously access the counselling service with a counsellor who has experience in that area and do some work around their confidence. So that's the kind of main service at the moment that we offer. But at the same time, I'm aware that the Health and Wellbeing College are also offering something in the community, some courses on specific dates. I don't have the details now, but we do.
It doesn't have to be therapy. Confidence can be volunteering. You can go to Action Together and look at potentially giving some of your time and socialising. We have a happy cafe. So you can come into the cafe and we have a chat and natter table, so people can come, have something to eat, maybe talk to somebody else and gain their confidence that way. So what we're saying is if you have an issue as a man, it doesn't have to be a therapy, it could be coming to get an accredited course, attending a resilience session, just giving your time back, going for a walk. Anything can kind of increase your well-being and confidence just by doing something.
It's interesting what you're saying about volunteering, because I know we have a lot of volunteers here, and I know I personally noticed an impact on their kind of self-esteem and their confidence, and I've had volunteers who've gone on to kind of get work afterwards, so that's probably a really positive thing. Right, who's next? Sinead, what do you recommend if I feel a friend might be feeling suicidal?
I mean, I'd say that generally, so is that what do we recommend to the person?
So let's say my friend is feeling suicidal, what would you recommend to me?
Okay, I think it would be important to make available the information to you, which are, you know, advise that person that feels suicidal to speak to the doctor, to make somebody aware of the issue. Obviously they've made you aware, but to seek for medical advice as to, because it could be something that the doctor could do about them. They could refer them on, or they could discuss any, you know, medical issues that could be playing into that. But at the same time, I would point you in the direction of our numbers as well, where somebody can, your friend, for example, if it was you, could call those numbers and offload any time in the day. I think both lines are 24/7.
Yeah.
And 24. Yeah. So.
Go on.
Yeah, and obviously, if there's any further support that they need, this could be picked up there as well. But generally, I would advise people to try to be available and listen to what the person they're concerned about have to say, and not feel under pressure to give advice or push them in one direction. Maybe hear more about them and or what they're going through.
I was going to say, so say for example, it was my friend, and I was advising them to go to these services, and they didn't want to access them.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do personally? Is there anything I can do to support? Is it my responsibility?
It's not.
Sorry, yeah.
I was going to say, it's not your responsibility. I think Sinead, who put the question in, it's really good that a friend's been able to be open with her.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can give somebody the advice of going to the GP, signpost them to services, and be available to be there for them, but you're not responsible for that person.
Yeah.
So if you can seek support further, you could call us, you could call these lines. Papyrus is another line that you can call for advice, but ultimately it's about directing that person to services.
Right. Okay.
And also to remember for Sinead in that case that to look after her own self-care as well, so to ask advice about how she's dealing with that as well, and if she needs some support, because that could be the case. It would be quite emotional for somebody to be
involved in that and feel like it's their responsibility. Yeah, perfect. Oh, I'm inundated. What have we got here? John, as a man of 55, statistically I am in the highest risk of suicide, but this has been a moving bulge on the graph. What do you think has been going on for us 50-plus men born in the 60s? And there's a sort of follow-up question. And what specific support or approach is needed for this group? It's a big one, isn't it?
It's a bit hard to be specific. I mean, there could be many reasons. I think it's important to remember that people may be going through something in their own way, so there may be some social issues going on, but I think it's important to remember that everyone has their own story and their own background that leads them to feel a certain way. I don't know if you know anything more about that specific area of the age.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of changes in the last 30 years. So if you look at the financial crash, if you look at gender roles, as women's rights have been increasing and equality has happened, which we're all for, that's actually affected what men feel their role is. So men were breadwinners, they were providers, and that's changed, especially when the financial crash happened.
Yeah.
So that's had a real impact on people's well-being, and it's, research suggests that men's identity is so tied into their work that when that's taken away, there's an impact. So unfortunately for John, if he's in that age group, that bulge will carry with him, because that generation of men are a real concern.
Yeah. Particularly if they were born in the 60s, it's a massive time of change since then to now. Yeah.
But you're right.
The changes in I suppose you're right. The changes in the employment world, and how employable some people are, and the fact that younger people have many skills, whereas sometimes for people further on it could be more difficult to catch up, with certain skills to make them more employable. So it could be a real real life social issue in that sense.
What did you ask about support next?
The follow-up was, what specific support approach do we need? So it's not necessarily what's available, but what do we need to do to support this group better?
I don't think we can answer that quite. I think it's such a big question, and it's dependent on the community, which is why together was done for Tameside, because that's what we felt from research that the Tameside community needed.
Yeah.
But some Stockport, Salford, Norwich would need a completely different approach to meet that community. Sorry, John.
Perhaps the thing we need is more research and focus on that particular age group. Maybe that's what's necessary to create support. Good question, though. Thank you. Oh my goodness. What have we got? I've been ignoring this one for a while. Who's this? Claire. What do you feel the suicide rate in males is so high in Tameside? Sorry, why do you feel suicide rate is so high in Tameside specifically?
I mean, I can't really say why that is, because that would imply that I know what the cause behind it is exactly, but we do observe that there may be some social issues that are happening. I'm sure they happen in other boroughs as well, which is why I can't say that this is particular for Tameside. But there have been, according to a research which kind of fed into the philosophy and orientation of the Together project, there are some issues around employment, around housing or homelessness, potential financial difficulties that could, which are considered kind of the social issues that could generate feelings like that in people, which is why we have this project in our organisation. So these are the main things that we've observed that are happening in this locality. I'm not sure why, compared to other localities with similar social problems, if that's in fact the case.
Yeah, I suppose say Greater Manchester as a whole has a higher suicide rate than the national average, so it's not a Tameside specific problem.
Okay.
I think it's deprived areas in general are more at risk.
Yeah.
Tameside is one of the most deprived areas.
42nd highest time.
So,
my statistic of the day.
So that's an indication, but again, we couldn't go into specifics as to why, because each story is specific to that person. Okay.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time, and I know I have a last question, but that one will have to have a pause. I just wanted to remind everyone that if you've got any more questions that you haven't had the chance to send in, or you're watching this video behind time, you're always welcome to ring our team on 0161 330 9223, or you can email us on that's our website. www.togmind.org is our website where we've got more information, but you can email us on office@togmind.org. And we can sort of answer anything that you need to be answered. Again, if anything was particularly distressing for you today, we do still have our 2 numbers available for helplines that are great support. It's also, I'm going to remind you that we will be having another Facebook Live question and answer session this time next month on the 22nd of August, where we're going to be talking about anxiety in young people. So if you have any specific questions that you want to be put on the wheel to make sure that they are in the mix, then please do contact us on the numbers I've given you. So I'd just like to thank Caleb and Demetrius for joining us. I'd like to thank everyone who was watching, and particularly Claire and John and Sinead and Sarah and everyone who asked questions of us today. And we hope to see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.